The SUV waiting outside was big and black and gleaming, the kind of car that looked wrong on her block. She slid into the back seat, gripping her duffel like a shield, trying not to panic as her entire life shifted in under an hour. Outside, the city rolled by. Brick gave way to glass and stone. Liquor stores gave way to boutiques and galleries. The snow on the sidewalks went from gray to white. They pulled up to a wide graystone mansion in the Gold Coast, its windows glowing warm against the early dark. Maya's mouth fell open. "You live here?" "For now," Julian said, like he could move houses the way she moved from one CTA line to another. "Come on." The front door opened before they reached it, revealing a woman in her 50s with silver-streaked braids, dark brown skin, and an expression that managed to be both no-nonsense and deeply kind. "There you are," she said to Julian. "About time. And this must be Maya." Maya blinked. "Yes. Hi. I'm Denise," the woman said, stepping back to let them in. "I run this house and half of his life, but he only pays me for one of those jobs. Come in, baby. You're too pregnant to be standing in doorways." Warmth embraced her as she stepped into the foyer, real warmth, not the half-hearted attempt of an old radiator. Light spilled over a grand staircase, paintings lined the walls, and somewhere in the back, she caught the rich smell of something cooking. It felt like stepping into another universe. This is too much," she blurted. Hush," Denise said gently. "You need a soft place to land. You can have a panic attack about it later, after you've eaten." Julian's lips curved. "Listen to Denise. She's very rarely wrong." "I'm never wrong," Denise corrected. "Show her the room." He led Maya up the stairs to a bright guest room with a big bed, thick blankets, and floor-to-ceiling curtains. A private bathroom gleamed to the side, stocked with fluffy towels and more products than she'd seen outside of a beauty store. "I can't stay here," she whispered, overwhelmed. "It's like a hotel." "It's like home," he said quietly. "For as long as you need it to be." She sank onto the edge of the bed, the mattress soft but supportive under her aching back. "What do I owe you?" she asked, because she didn't know how else to navigate something this big. "Nothing," he replied. "You don't owe me anything, Maya. You've already given my company more than it deserved from you. Let this be a rebalancing." She wanted to argue. She wanted to insist on paying rent, on keeping a ledger. But exhaustion was a heavy hand on her shoulder. "Okay," she whispered instead. He smiled, the tension in his shoulders easing just a fraction. "I'll let you rest. If you need anything, Denise is down the hall. I'll be in my office." She nodded, then stopped him with a quiet, "Julian?" He paused in the doorway. "Yeah. Thank you," she said. "You didn't have to do this." He held her gaze. "I did," he said simply. "Because I could." When he left, she lay back on the bed, staring at the intricate molding on the ceiling. Her son kicked softly, as if approving of the upgrade. "Let's just take this one day at a time," she whispered to him. "No falling in love with luxury, okay? We're guests. We remember that." But as she drifted off to sleep for the first time in weeks without fear clawing at her lungs, it was hard to remember anything except how good it felt to finally be warm. The days that followed slotted into a new rhythm. Denise fed her like she'd been hired to do it. Soups and stews and roasted vegetables and cornbread that tasted like somebody's grandmother had blessed it. "That baby is not entering the world malnourished on my watch," she said, shooing away Maya's protests. Julian went off to work most mornings in a tailored blur, returning in the evenings with that particular tiredness powerful people carried. The weight of too many decisions made and too many eyes watching. But no matter how late he got back, he always checked on her. "You okay?" he'd ask, pausing at her door. "I'm okay," she'd say. Sometimes she meant it. A doctor, calm, efficient, soothing, began making house calls every week like it was the most normal thing in the world. Blood pressure checked. Baby's heartbeat listened to. Questions answered without condescension. "He sounds strong," the doctor would say, and Maya's heart would unclench a little more each time. One afternoon, she walked past a room that had been empty the day she arrived and stopped short. It was no longer empty. A brand new crib stood in the center, already assembled, flanked by a changing table and a soft armchair. Neutral tones, soft blankets, a mobile hanging above the crib with tiny clouds and stars. Maya stepped inside slowly, fingertips brushing the smooth wood. "You okay with gray?" Julian's voice came from behind her. Denise vetoed the bright colors. She said if we did red, the baby would grow up angry. Denise called from somewhere down the hall. "I stand by that." Maya turned around, eyes wide and glassy. "You did all this?" Julian shifted, looking almost shy. I had help. I showed Denise a list. She told me 98% of it was impractical and bought what you see. Maya swallowed, her hand drifting to her chest. I don't know how to deserve this. You don't have to deserve it, he said quietly. You just have to let it be yours. Every night, she found some new sign that this space had been quietly reshaped around her. A pregnancy pillow magically appearing on her bed, her prenatal yoga videos queued up on the TV, a basket of snacks next to her favorite spot on the couch. And between all the practical things, there were the small, unspoken ones. The way Julian lowered his voice around her, as if the baby could hear and had strong opinions about volume. The way he remembered to ask, "Did you drink enough water today?" like an overachieving health app. The way his eyes softened every time he saw her laugh. She kept reminding herself, he's your boss. He's kind. That's all this is. Accept help without building castles in the air. The night her water broke, she was in the kitchen, arguing with Denise about mac and cheese. Baked, Denise declared. Always. With real cheese, not that orange powdered sawdust. Don't slander boxed mac, Maya argued. It raised me. You're getting emotional about pasta, Denise said. That's how I know you're close. I'm perfectly. Her words cut off with a sharp gasp as warmth flooded between her legs. Denise's eyes went wide. Okay, that's our cue. Julian. The hospital might as well have been another one of Julian's properties with how quickly they moved for him. Forms had already been filled out. Insurance pre-cleared. A private room waiting. Nurses addressed her by name like they'd been expecting this call all day. Did you bribe the whole hospital? She groaned between contractions. I prefer strategic preparation, he said calmly, even though his hand squeezed hers like he was the one writing the contraction. Labor was a messy, painful blur. At some point, she threatened to never let another man touch her again. At another, she cried because she was sure she wasn't strong enough. Through all of it, Julian stayed, on her left side, letting her crush his fingers, forehead furrowed, as if he could will some of the pain out of her body and into his. You're doing great, he said hoarsely as she bore down again. You're almost there. She wanted to tell him to shut up. Instead, she screamed, pushed, and a sharp, piercing cry shattered the room. The world narrowed to a tiny, squirming body, a wail louder than any siren, a rush of relief so powerful it knocked the breath from her lungs. The nurse laid the baby on her chest, warm and damp and perfect. Hi, she sobbed, touching his cheek with trembling fingers. Hi, baby. I'm your mom. We made it. He quieted almost instantly, as if the sound of her voice answered a question he hadn't known he was asking. Do you want Dad to cut the cord? The doctor asked automatically, glancing at Julian. Julian looked like someone had just handed him the moon. Is that okay? He asked Maya. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. You've more than earned it. He stepped forward with careful hands, accepted the scissors, and cut the cord between her and the little boy whose life he'd already helped save more than once. Later, after everyone had left the room and the chaos settled into a warm hush, Maya watched Julian staring at the bassinet. You can hold him, she said. He blinked. I'm large. She laughed. He's not made of glass. Come here. She showed him how to slide his hands under the baby's head and body, how to bring him to his chest. Julian cradled him like something holy, eyes wide, shoulders tense. The baby squirmed, then settled, tiny fingers flexing against Julian's shirt. What did you decide on for a name? Julian asked softly. Liam, she said, watching them both. Liam Julian Thompson. He froze. Maya, if you don't like it, I can change. I like it, he said quickly, voice thick. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything, she replied. You were there when he needed someone. Before anyone else. Before even I knew how bad things were. This is just my way of saying I see that. He stared at her like she'd handed him something heavy and priceless. Thank you, he said finally. The days that followed were a new kind of exhausting. Maya learned how to swaddle, how to burp, how to tell the difference between the I'm hungry cry and the I just enjoy chaos cry. Denise moved through the house like a guardian angel with a spatula. Julian adjusted meetings, took calls from his home office, and appeared in the doorway every time he heard Liam's shrill wail. One night, around 3 a.m., Maya stumbled into the living room to find Julian standing by the window, gently rocking Liam against his chest and humming something low. You're going to spoil him, she whispered from the doorway. Good, Julian whispered back. Let him grow up thinking being loved is normal. Maya leaned on the doorframe, heart aching in the best and worst ways. "Why are you doing all this?" she asked quietly. "Really?" He looked down at Liam, then up at her. "Because I can't stand watching good people drown while I sit on dry land," he said. "Because I know what it's like to feel like no one's coming. Because you're not just an employee to me." Her breath hitched. "What am I then?" He hesitated, jaw working. "I wasn't going to say anything," he admitted. "Not now. Not like this. I wanted you to be healed, independent, far away from his shadow. But every day you're here, you take up more space in my life. And I don't mind it." "Julian," she whispered. "I care about you," he said, the words measured but full. "More than I should. More than is strictly professional." She stared at him, heart pounding. "I don't expect you to say anything back," he added quickly. "You just had a child. You just lost a marriage. You don't owe me anything. I'm not asking for an answer. I just needed you to know that none of what I've done is about obligation or a savior complex. It's about you. And him." He looked at Liam. "And wanting to be here. For real. No matter what you decide." The room felt smaller, charged with something fragile and powerful. She swallowed hard. "I don't know what I'm ready for," she admitted. "My heart is still sore." "I know," he said. "Take your time. I'm not going anywhere." As if on cue, Liam let out a soft, sleepy sigh between them. Maya smiled faintly. "Good," she murmured. "Because I think he already thinks you're staying." Julian smiled back, something hopeful flickering in his eyes. "Then I wouldn't dare disappoint him," he said. By the time spring rolled into Chicago, Maya had learned two truths. 1. Newborns do not care about anyone's schedule. 2. Julian Price kept his word. He didn't go anywhere. He didn't fade into the background once the crisis passed. He was there for the bleary 2 a.m. feedings when she was too tired to keep her eyes open. He was there for the first real smile Liam gave, his deep laugh filling the room when the baby's whole face lit up. He was there for the postnatal appointments, hovering nearby like a very well-dressed guard dog. He also stubbornly nudged her back toward her own life. "You're still a strategist," he reminded her one afternoon as she bounced a dozing Liam in her arms. "Not just a milk machine." "I feel like exclusively a milk machine," she grumbled. "You also feel like you can't do big campaigns on 3 hours of sleep," he said. "Which is fair. So we ease in. A few hours a day. From home. When you're ready." They started small. He'd bring her a brief about a sluggish brand and ask casually, "Any ideas?" 10 minutes later, she'd have 3 fully formed angles and a rough outline of an ad concept. He'd grin like a kid presented with extra dessert. "I miss this," he said. "Being upstaged in your own company?" she teased. "Being reminded that I hired very smart people," he corrected. One very smart person in particular. Her confidence, bruised and battered by Kelvin's constant criticism and the abrupt unpaid leave, slowly began to reinflate. She got an email from HR with a subject line, "Return to your work plan revised. Per Julian's instruction, your status has been updated from unpaid leave to remote active. You will receive back pay from the date your leave began. We're excited to have you back in whatever capacity works for you." Maya read the email 3 times, then looked up at Julian over the top of her phone. "You did this." He shrugged, leaning against the doorframe with a mug in hand. "I fixed a mistake." "Most CEOs don't fix mistakes this way," she said. "Most CEOs should try harder," he replied. She didn't say thank you again. The words felt too small for what he kept doing. Instead, she worked. She poured her brain back into strategies and copy, building campaigns while Liam napped nearby, baby monitor crackling softly. 3 months after Liam's birth, on a soft, rainy afternoon, her phone rang with a name she hadn't seen in a long time. Kelvin. Her heart stuttered. She stared at the screen, thumb hovering. Across the room, Julian glanced up from his laptop. His gaze sharpened when he saw the caller ID. "You don't have to answer," he said quietly. "I know," she said. "But I want to hear what excuse he's polished up." She swiped to accept the call and held the phone to her ear. "Hello." "Maya," Kelvin exhaled, as if he'd just finished a sprint. "Wow. You finally picked up. I've been trying to reach you." "You called exactly 0 times in the last 3 months," she said evenly. "Try again." "I lost my phone," he said quickly. "Change numbers." "Long story. Short capacity for honesty too, I see," she replied. He let out a sharp laugh. "There it is. The sarcasm. I missed that." "I didn't," she said. He hesitated. "So listen. I've been thinking a lot. About us. About the baby. I made mistakes, okay? I can admit that. Lila and I, he coughed. That situation didn't work out. She wasn't who I thought she was. Karma caught up with me, I guess. Maya glanced at Julian, who was watching her now, his expression unreadable. Keep talking, she said flatly. I want to be involved, Kelvin said. With my son. I miss you. I miss us. I think we can fix this. I'm ready to come home. She almost dropped the phone. Come home, she repeated, incredulous. To what? The apartment you abandoned? The woman you walked out on? The child you ignored? I told you I'd send money, he protested. But things have been tight. I've been between gigs. You stole from a nonprofit, Kelvin, she snapped. You're lucky between gigs is your only problem right now. On the other end, silence. How do you? He started. Did you really think your ex-boss wouldn't tell me why you were fired? She asked. You lied to me. About everything. About the job, about leaving, about Lila. Do you even hear yourself? I didn't want you to think less of me, he said weakly. You should have thought less of yourself before you did it, she said. He huffed. So that's it? You're just done? You're really going to let some rich dude replace me as Liam's father? She froze. Julian's jaw clenched. This rich dude, she said slowly, kept a roof over my head when you left me in a freezing apartment. He sat through labor while you were God knows where. He learned how to change diapers and soothe colic. He made sure I had a doctor, food, and work. So if anyone deserves the word father near their name right now, it's him. Oh, so you admit it, Kelvin said, voice turning ugly. You ran straight to him as soon as I left. That's what you wanted all along, huh? To upgrade. To bag a billionaire. This was your plan. Plan, she repeated, stunned. You think my plan was to be abandoned pregnant? To cry over shut-off notices? To move into my boss's house because my husband couldn't handle being an adult? You always had a thing for those rich types, he sneered. Always swooning over his speeches. I saw the way you looked at him. The way I looked at him, she interrupted coldly, was the way employees look at someone who gives them a chance to be seen. You wouldn't know what that's like because you never saw me unless I was solving your problems. He was breathing hard now. I'm still your husband, he said. Legally. I have rights. That's my son. And this isn't over. You're right, she said. You're still my husband. That's why I filed for divorce last month. Silence crackled between them. You what? He choked. You abandoned me, she said, her voice finally shaking with the hurt she'd kept swallowed for months. You moved in with another woman before our child was even born. You didn't show up. You didn't call. You didn't send $1. You don't get to show up now and cling to the title when you refused the job. You can't just erase me, he shouted. I'll go to court. I'll go for custody if I have to. Maya laughed, the sound harsh. You want custody of a baby you haven't even met. I have rights, he repeated stubbornly. Start by exercising your right to pay child support, she said. Then maybe we can talk about visits with a lawyer present. Until then, we're done here. She hung up before he could respond and set the phone down with shaking hands.